I hit the ground running when I'm invading your country. Instill with honor and discipline. Throw my guns like onyx, dressed in camo with...
What's up, guys? RNG here from the Stone Vet USMC. Super excited to be back with you guys, man. Like I tell you guys, I took a break. It's been a while, man. I know you guys have been missing me. I get it. I've been hearing you guys. But I'm back again with you guys this Friday, able to bring back amazing guests for you guys to feel more comfortable in understanding why RNG is so adamant about federal legalization of cannabis, man. I'm super excited to be back, man. It's like I tell you guys, if you guys are on YouTube, you guys can see these beautiful awards that I have here with me, right? Why do I have them? It's because of you guys that are listening in on a regular basis, supporting me, supporting RNG, coming out here on a weekly basis to provide you guys with some educational material in regards to using CBD and cannabis on a, using it and incorporating it into your daily lifestyle, man. But it's because of you that I'm able to have these amazing awards, right? Veteran Podcast Awards is upon us again. Voting will open up this Monday, August 8th, all the way to September 14th. I was checking out my competition. There's a lot of Marine Corps competitions, right? If you guys are watching on YouTube, you guys see that award. Winner, right? Winner, Top Marine Corps Podcast of 2021. That's this gold Warhammer right here, right? And then down there, that Chronic Palooza Award. I just won that this year. That's my 2022 award. I like to bring back more awards for 2022, right? There's more categories than just the Top Marine Corps Podcast. But if I'm able to bring in the Top Marine Corps Podcast, I'd be happy with that. But there, like I said, there are multiple categories, and I like to bring in multiple awards for multiple categories, right? But I can't do that unless you guys are getting out there and you guys are voting for me, man. I'm super excited to be here with you guys today, man. I want to give a huge shout out to my sponsor, Rafa 180. Like you guys know, every freaking episode, Rafa 180 provides you the best medicinal grade, THC-free CBD on the market, dude. Hands down, coming from the only FDA-regulated lab here in the Midwest. I love their products, man. You guys know me. I've been drug testing for the past 2 years, right? November's coming up real quick, and I'm going to be done drug testing for the federal government. But I've been taking this product on a daily basis, man, and guess what? I haven't popped once yet. And I take this stuff every day. A lot of people ask me, well, what kind of drug test? Is it like one of the over-the-counter drug tests, or is it actually getting sent in? My drug tests are getting sent in, and the state of Oklahoma is testing it. I haven't popped yet, and I take these products. I take my Active Duty RX, I take my Sapphire, and I take my 1,000 milligram CBD oil every day, dude. And I haven't popped, and it's like I tell you guys, they have the lab testing to show you everything that's inside the product, which is amazing, right? Every product should have lab testing for it. If you're not sure, ask for the lab testing. Find out what's inside your product before you consume it, man. That's why I love what Rafa 180 is doing with their whole website and helping people on a regular basis. They have the contact information down at the bottom of the page, man. Reach out to them. That's their personal cell phone number, dude. They don't have a freaking customer service. That's their personal cell phone number. They'll help you. Why? Because it's hard when it's come. There's a lot of different CBD out there, different milligrams, different products, and it's like, which one do I use? What do I start with? How do I get started in this? How do I do it? It's hard. It's confusing, especially if you don't know, if you haven't educated yourself, man. That's one of the biggest things we advocate for is educate before you medicate. And that's one of the biggest things we do, man. So go check out Rafa180.com. That's Romeo Alpha Papa Hotel Alpha 180.com. And when you check out with the Stone Vet USMC, get 15% off your entire purchase, dude. That's great, you know? And then you get free priority shipping. You spend, I think, $75 or $95. I got to go find out. I can't remember what they said. Get free priority shipping to your front door, dude. So you get it within like 2 days. That's like Amazon freaking shipping, dude. That's freaking amazing, man. Plus, guess what? You get some of this awesome swag, dude. They got a tab over there, the Stone Vet. It says the Stone Vet on the website. You can get some of this cool art, right? Local artist here in Oklahoma, Modi Art. She made these shirts for me. I got shirts. I got tank tops because women kept asking me for tank tops, but none of y'all are going over there to buy them. I don't know why I made them if you ain't buying them. Got tank tops. I got cups, right? It's hot outside. These are them thermo cups, man. This thing will keep ice for freaking like 15, 20 hours, dude. Keeps your drinks nice and cold, man. I love it. If you like coffee, if you like hot coffee, this thing will keep your coffee hot for hours, dude. It's an amazing cup. What Ginger and David are doing over at Really Designs, dude. They've been helping me out, trying to get everything going. So go check out Rafa180.com to get all your medicinal grade CBD needs, man. I'm super excited to be here with you guys today, man. I am bringing on another advocate of this amazing plant. I'm bringing on Tony. He is the founder of Louisiana What is it?
Veterans.
Louisiana Veterans for Medical Cannabis, right?
Yeah, that's
Louisiana
correct.
Veterans for Medical Cannabis. I knew I was gonna mess that up. I always mess this stuff up. Well, I'm bringing on the founder. This guy started a Facebook group because he's a veteran who's fighting for medical cannabis. What's going on, Tony? How you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great, Sergeant G. Thank you for having me on. It's an honor to be here with you and seeing, hopefully them awards keep coming in.
Absolutely, brother. No, absolutely. I'm super excited to have you here with me, man. Like I tell people, I like to bring on brothers who can relate, right? Because we all, being a veteran, dude, we struggle with a lot of different things, right, on a daily basis. You older, so you old school military. Why don't you tell people a little bit about your time on service?
Yeah, sure. I joined a little later than most people join right out of high school. I worked for my father at a service station down in Louisiana, and at 26, I was married with a 6-year-old son, and I just, it's like everybody else. When you join the military, you want something different or some training, some education.
Right.
So I went in, joined in the advanced electronic field for the Navy, working on weapons systems, the radar and navigation systems for weapons. The rating's called fire controlman. I always explain it first because they think I was a firefighter. But no, we worked. I worked on a little Gatling gun that it's called Sea-Whiz, close-in weapon system, and it shoot 1,000 rounds a minute. So every second there's like 60 rounds that would go off. And at 1 mile, we'd go through 17 inches of solid steel. It was a depleted uranium round, a very small projectile, but it had such a big payload behind it, gunpowder behind it, it'd go fast.
Wow.
So, it'd shoot missiles when they come out the ship. The last ram of defense was that little system. It would track the missile. It had a search radar and a track radar, and it lock on to the missile and shoot it down, hopefully before it hit the ship.
Right. Wow, that ain't a firefighter, man.
Yeah, no.
Nothing like a firefighter.
No.
Absolutely. So when were you in service?
I joined in '88, got out in '94. It was a 6-year program. You had to go through about a year and a half of basic electronics and advanced electronics, and then the weapons system school itself. So it was about a year and a half before I finally hit the ship. But I spent most part of my time. It's funny that the military sends you wherever they need you. I was stationed to the USS California. It was a nuclear cruiser. It took the place of the USS California battleship, and the ship needed an overhaul. It needed, these ships. It was a 20-year-old reactors and everything, and they needed refueling.
No, it wasn't old. What are you talking about?
It wasn't that old, but it had to be tore apart, opened up to get to the new reactors and a new weapon system. All this stuff, it got refitted with everything. So I spent most of my time up in Bremerton, Washington, in the shipyards while the ship was getting rebuilt. Right at the beginning of the Gulf War.
Okay.
And I got out, and my time was up in '94, and I'd spent 3 years without returning home, and I just wanted to get back to my family and my roots, and came back to Louisiana and started a family here.
Oh wow, yeah. So absolutely. I mean, that's what a lot of us do. A lot of us usually end up turning back home, right? Like, I mean, there's a lot of veterans that don't. They just stay where they're at, right? A lot of people stay where they're at for whatever reason because they've already been making a living there, doing what they do. Like myself, I got out because when I got out in '09, I came back to Oklahoma. Why? Because I love the freedom that I got here in Oklahoma, and so I came back myself. And so, I mean, understanding that that's what a lot of people are like, right? I'm gonna go back home or whatever, and a lot of times it's a struggle, right? When you get out of after serving, like you did 6 years, after serving, it's like you come back and you're like, you're still doing the same thing you did when I joined 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Talking to the same people. You're like, how are you still doing the same daggum thing that you were doing 6 years ago when I left?
Yeah, it's funny. It seemed like when I was in the military and I couldn't do what my heart's desire was, go out and do. I was, committed to serving my time. So, but when you get out, like the world's at your fingertips. You can do just things that you weren't capable of doing before you joined the military and went to boot camp. So, yeah, I could see where, you see people when you get back home and you like, no, I'm gonna do something different than before I went in. But
Right. No, absolutely, brother. And and that's one of the biggest struggles. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody that does time, like you were working on missiles and stuff. It's like you get out of service, you're like, what the hell am I supposed to do now? I can't work on missiles now, right? Like you're like,
right.
what is it that I can do? What job can I do, right? And it's a lot of people struggle with that because it's kind of you get down to it and you're like, what is it that I can do now? So what was it after you got out after doing your 6 years, your time in service? What is it that you got into after you got out?
When I before I actually left, I applied to work on computers. Was the fire control computers on that system. They taught me a lot of micro circuit
Okay.
repair and all kind of stuff. In the military, I wanted to put that to use and go. I said, well, I know how to fix the computers. I want to go to college and learn how to program them. So I was
Right.
working on. I got a job working on copy machines as a lead tech service manager for a copy company out of office equipment company.
Mm-hmm.
And after 3 years, I was going to school at night in computer science. And after 3 years working on copy machines, I got out with 10% service connected on my back. I had some incidents while I was active duty. So when I got out, they applied for benefits and stuff like they teach you to do. And the TAPS, we went through
Right.
transition assistant program. They said, oh, you need to do all this. So I did. And it came, fortunate it come, when I got out, I worked 3 years working on copy machines, picking them up and all. And I ended up having a couple back surgeries. So the VA been taking care of me, with my back ever since. They never quit. It helped me get some things. I don't think my children got to go to college because I was 100% service connected. I had 2 back surgeries
Oh
and
wow.
it left me with chronic pain. So the VA stepped up and they gave me benefits, and the kids, like I said, went to college and they helped me out big. They're still helping me. So
That's great. Yeah, I mean that's one of the biggest things, right? Because I mean that's a struggle, right? When you get out of service, is trying to figure out the whole VA system. How did the VA work and how this, you know what I'm saying? It took me like for me personally, it took me 11 years to get my 100% disability after getting out of service, right? And I said that's what I try to tell our brothers and sisters is like you have to stay adamant on it because if not, the VA wants you to quit. The VA doesn't want to help you. They don't want to have to pay you, right? And I try to tell my dad that because he's a retired Army master sergeant, and he's like, "Oh no, I'm good with what I got." I said, that contract you signed, that was part of the contract is that they were required to pay you for the services you provided to them, right? Regardless if it screwed you up, because a lot of our guys are struggle real bad with PTSD, right? Like my dad's real bad about it. He went to Afghanistan. He was in Afghanistan when I was in Iraq for my second tour, and he's seen things and he had to do things, and they still haunt him to this day. And it's been freaking 15 years, and it's still haunting him to this day. And it's one of the things I tell him. I said, part of that contract you signed to devote your life to this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That was part of the contract, right? You may not have seen that, but that was part of the contract. Is that they were going to pay you for anything that you incurred while serving your country, right? And he's like, oh no, I'm fine, I'm fine. I'm like, you'll figure it out eventually, right? You'll figure it out eventually. But like I tell people, it took me 11 years to get my 100%. Like I fought and fought and fought and fought, and I had people advocating for me and fighting for me, and I finally got it. And I was like, finally. And it's like you said, it helps out so much, right? Because it's part of the contract we signed, right? We signed a contract saying that we will defend this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. It's a contract that never expires, right? But we do need to be paid for what we've incurred while serving our country, right? Because a lot of people who've deployed and had to do things and had to see things that you don't even want to have nightmares about. And you're like, now they got to deal with it for the rest of their life, and that's one of the biggest struggles, right? People always talk about the 22. Everybody in this world knows 22 veterans take their life every day. Everybody knows that. You don't even have to be a veteran and you know that, right? It's everywhere. It's blasted everywhere. Everybody knows 22 veterans take their life every day. But nobody ever talks about the 35 veterans that take their life to opioid addiction every day. So you got 35 people taking their life to opioid addiction, and you got 22 people taking their life to suicide because life's just too hard. Wife left them, girlfriend left them, job's getting too hard, they ain't got no money, bills are overdue, and so forth, right? And a lot of people are like, man, you know, it sucks, right? But I was like, dude, that's a lot of people taking their life every day, right? You know, so that's 57 veterans are taking their life every single day. And it's sad and it sucks, right? And one of the biggest things, right? One of the biggest things I know, I bet for you, for one of the major reasons to be advocating for cannabis, right? It's because it's a plan. Let's get our brothers off of these freaking opioids, right? That's a big struggle. I don't know about you, but I mean, when you got out of service, how was the doctor prescribing opioids for you when you got out of service? I mean, especially with your back surgeries. I mean,
Oh gosh, yes. Opiates and barbiturates, sleeping meds. I mean, muscle relaxers. You name it. I was, you know, we go to the VA and we see these veterans walking around with a gallon bag of Ziploc pills.
Right.
I was one of those veterans. They prescribed me all kind of medicine, you know, but it was so the opiates. You build a tolerance for one after. If you take them in large, high quantities, doses and stuff, which I was in terrible amount of pain, and the opiates helped me. Thank God I didn't, you know, get into buying an overdose or go run out and go out on the street and get some and end up having fentanyl in them, which is what's happened a lot of times now. You know, because I was addicted to them. I was terribly addicted to them. I would run out and, you know, borrow a couple from a friend or something, try and get through the detox period on those opiates. So I've been through that, and thank goodness I got through it, and I'm still here to do, you know, advocate for cannabis because it's so much safer, you know.
no, absolutely, brother. And I mean, people who are listening in on the show and watching the show, this is one of the biggest struggles that they do have, you know, because I'm sure you've seen it since you've been such a huge advocate for cannabis. I'm sure you've seen it on a regular basis of our brothers and sisters who are like, dude, I take like 30 pills a day, man. I have to take 30 pills a day, right? Sleep aids, anxiety, depression, muscle spasms, freaking leg spasms. You name it, dude. Like, they'll tell you, they'll show you, dude. Like you said, they got a Ziploc bag, gallon Ziploc bag full of pills. And you're like, what are these for, dude? And you're like, I really don't even know anymore. Honestly, I don't even. The doctor just says take these pills to help with what I'm dealing with. And you're just like, my goodness. Like, you know, my father-in-law came over. He's not a veteran, but he came over and he had a handful of pills. I think he had like 6 pills in his hand. And he was going through it, telling me what they were for. I was like, dude, if you smoked weed, I can get rid of 4 of those pills. Like 4 of those pills you're taking. If you smoked a blunt a day, I can get rid of 4 of those pills that you're taking right now. He's like, really? I said, absolutely, dude. Like, you're dealing with high blood pressure. CBD helps with that. You're dealing with anxiety. Cannabis helps with that. You're dealing with depression. Cannabis helps with that. You're dealing with muscle spasms. Cannabis helps with that, dude. You know, and that's one thing I've been starting to do on my Wednesday episodes. I'm actually walking through the terpene profiles, and I'm actually breaking down each week. I'm going to go through and break down each terpene. And my wife is a huge. She's very educated in understanding plant-based medicine. She's been studying for about 10, 15 years now, and she's like, when you break down the terpenes, tell people how they're already using them. Like, you're already using terpenes. Just tell people how they're already using it and how it's beneficial when you consume it in the cannabis flower. And I said, okay, well, I'll start doing that, you know. But I mean, like, Tony, you've been in this fight for a while. How long you been in this fight for fighting for legalization?
I started a group in 2017. I went to Patients Out. No, I wasn't Patients Out of Time. That's something I just did. No, it was Americans for Safe Access. I went into I got a scholarship to go to one of their lobby days, training seminars in D.C. in 18, and we advocated and got chronic pain. Myself and a couple other vets worked to get the chronic pain and PTSD added to Louisiana's medical cannabis program. In the spring of 18, because it started in 2015, our program, but they came back on in 16, had to change the word prescribed and to recommended. It was just
Just
so
stupid.
painful of a
A
start,
lot
you
of this
know.
stuff. Yeah. A lot
Yeah,
of
it's
it's
painful
frustrating.
to go over it, just to listen to all the things that were put into place, basically to make the program not function, you know, like other states. Within 3 or 4 years, they have 500,000 patients. You know, Louisiana, we have 40,000 patients right now with being in the program since it's been over, what's 7 years now, 15, yeah. So I mean, it's just so much of a struggle. I'm glad that we made a lot of improvements this year, though. Juan, we got a reciprocity program for out of state for veterans or anybody if you're a medical cannabis patient in another state and you're visiting Louisiana and you happen to have your medical cannabis that you brought with you, maybe a vape pen, and you get stopped by Louisiana police, you won't get a ticket or any kind of fine if you're able to show your out-of-state recommendation. They're not going to ticket you for that. And then also, if you run out of that vape pen, you better go to the Louisiana's dispensaries and make a purchase. So proud of that. But
That's outstanding. I mean, that's one of the biggest things. That's one of the things I talk about on my Wednesday episodes. Is like I tell veterans, like, dude, if I come to your state and I can't have my medicine, I'm gonna be highly upset. Like seriously, like that's like telling somebody who's on blood pressure medicine you can't take your blood pressure medicine across state lines. You're like, why? Well, you just can't take it because it's not prescribed here, you know. And that's one of the things I keep telling people, right? Because it's hard, right? Like there's a lot of people that are like, man, I can't get to my capital, or I can't do this, or I can't do that, right? And it's hard, right? I mean, like you say it's an hour. So you're taking an hour out of your day to drive there, and then another hour. So it's 2 hours. It's a 2 hour trip for you to go out there and then go home at the end of the day, right? I mean, it's a drive for you. It takes gas money. It takes time. It takes patience because you're sitting down with your local government and advocating, right? I've been watching your videos, dude. You put up these videos like on C-SPAN, dude. Like you are sitting at the table with these people who run your state, right?
yeah, yeah, it's it takes some getting used to. You know, at first times, you know, I was kind of intimidated, and then I'd try and build a big packet to give to each one of the committee members up there. Like you'll have a health and welfare committee with 20 representatives or 12 senators or whatever. And so I would make 20 copies of whatever I was going to plead my case for, whatever the bill was. And this year I did that for maybe 2 or 3 of the initial bills, but we had like 20 cannabis related bills. So after the first 2 or 3 of them, I just go in, you know, just right off the top of my head, whatever whatever I needed to say, you know, I get it done.
Right, and that's one of the biggest things that's one of the things I love about us veterans, right? We speak our minds, right? We definitely go up there and we tell them, hey, this is how we feel. This is how we feel about what we're fighting for, you know. And this is one of the biggest things that a lot of people, you know, that's one of the biggest struggles that a lot of veterans say they have is that how do I go talk to my representatives? How do I talk to my senator? How do I talk to my House of Representatives? Or how do I talk to, you know, just local jurisdiction where I'm at? And I tell them, I said, dude, these guys are people. They put on their pants just like you do, one leg at a time. They put on their socks 1 foot at a time, dude. They put on their shoes 1 shoe at a time, dude. Unless there's some crazy dude and they jump in their shoes and they take off, you know. But they're normal just like us, you know. And it's election year now. It's election year. And you being a veteran, dude, you better start knocking on the doors. Say, hey, I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you, right? Like right now, right? So they just had, like, I'm sure you're aware, they just had the first hearing for the new Cannabis Authorization Opportunity Act, right? And I'm watching it. It's a 2 hour freaking thing, that whole two hour fiasco that they had going on, dude. And honestly, you know, I had a gentleman in my house today, and he was fixing my cabinet doors. He's like, what are you listening to? I said, oh, they talking about the fighting for federal legalization of cannabis. He's like, what is that going to do? I was like, a lot of people are uneducated, right? You know, Tony, there's a lot of people that are uneducated in regards to federal legalization of cannabis, right? Because a lot of people, their job doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't require them to you know, you can smoke weed or whatever, you know. But understanding, like, I mean, when you got people out there like, well, what is that going to do if they federally legalize it? Dude, it's going to open up so many doors for so much other things, like safe banking and, allowing federal employees to be able to consume a plant. And, there's so many other things out there. And it's like, this is sad because these are the people who are voting, right? They're uneducated, right? And this is why we tell people you have to educate before you medicate. You have to have an understanding as to why we believe this plant works, right? I mean, for you, you said you were on. I mean, you had back surgery, so I know you were on a bunch of opioids when you after you had back surgery, right?
Oh yeah, I was on opiates like all the time, and toward the end though, it came to the realization it would just, I'd talk on the phone with my daughter or something in the evening, afternoon, like maybe 30 minutes, and then the next day I'd call up or something. Hey, how you been? Well, Daddy, I talked to you last night, and so I could tell the opiates were just shutting down not only the pain but my memory and a lot of mental stuff. So at that point, I just made a decision. Okay, well, I need to try something different. And I found some, I got off the opiates and I found some hemp CBD, and I was taking ibuprofen or BC powders. I had two of them in my shirt every morning. I'd get ready to go somewhere. I'd take one, and I had two more in my pocket. For every 4 hours, I'd eat aspirin. And after a while, I started taking the hemp CBD, and I noticed the packets of aspirin was going through the washing machine. I quit taking them, I was like, wait, something's going on here. And it was the hemp, the stuff working. So I started learning about the endocannabinoid system and how CBD supplements that endogenous system when we get deficient in internal cannabinoids, and our body can't keep up. If we got a lot of inflammation, it can't keep up with that internal stuff, so you need to supplement it. And the CBD and the hemp was doing it for me, and so I started really saying we need to get the word out. This is a lot safer product than opiates, especially now with the opiate crisis in just nearly every state. So that's the reason I got active. And when you go to the Capitol, there's not a you don't have to fight for a seat at the table on these committee hearings. There was some committee hearings I went, and there was just 3 or 4 patient advocates. They'll have like your national organization advocates there, MPP and Marijuana Policy Project, and one other Louisiana Progress in Louisiana was another kind of like non-profit type advocate. But the rest of the time, it was just 3 or 4 of us for the whole session, 3, 4, 5 maybe at one meeting or something. Civilian patients that were over there at the Capitol, and I know some of the meetings you can email your statement ahead of time before the committee hearing, and it goes to all the committee members so you can maybe influence their vote. But one of the meetings I went to, there was only 2 emails that came from the public, and I was one of the ones. I sent one, because I made sure that the Capitol they wasn't sending a return receipt when you'd email for a committee, a testimony or something. It was just like, you don't know if they got it or nothing. So I called the Capitol one day, and I asked who's in charge of that, and I spoke to the person, and I said, it couldn't be that big of a deal for y'all to fix up a little program when y'all get an email from somebody, it just shoots back one automatic and let them know. Well, that's a good idea, he said. So they actually implemented that this session. So that's how I knew it was only me and one other person that sent an email, because I was like, well, I got my return receipt. I don't know who the other person was, but.
Right. No, absolutely, brother. And that's one of the biggest things, right? So, I mean, when you started learning that, damn, CBD works, dude. Like you said, your BC powder ended up in the wash, right? You were replenishing your endocannabinoid system, right? And a lot of people wonder, right? I mean, because honestly, there's a lot of CBD out there, right? There's a lot of different types of CBD. There's a lot of different types of hemp. There's so many different milligrams, right? You can go anywhere from 5 milligrams to like 15,000 milligrams, and you're just like, how do I know how to replenish it? One of the things I try to educate people on is like, if you take too much CBD, it won't work. If you take too little CBD, it won't work, right? And it's just like any other doctors, right? what do they tell you when a doctor prescribes you to a new medication? What does he tell you? Try it for a couple of weeks, come back, and let me know if it's working for you, right? Is it working or is it not working? You know, and that's what I love about my sponsor, Rafa 180. That's how they are. They say they sit down with they'll sit down with the patient. What are you dealing with, and what are you wanting to achieve from using CBD? And they'll tell they'll break it down. Okay, this is where I recommend to start. Let's start here and see how it works, right? And try it for a couple of weeks. We want to see how it works, right? Like if you get on CBG people don't understand. CBG is a stimulant, dude. If you get a little agitated and get a little angry and a little frustrated, let's get you off the CBG and give you a higher dose of CBD then, right? Because CBG is a stimulant, right? It will do that to you. But sometimes people take a CBG and say, this is working perfectly. Well, then let's keep you on the CBG then. Let's keep you right there where you're at then and just try it, right? And what sucks is that people will take it. They'll take it for months, and then they'll stop taking it because they're like, oh, I ain't hurting no more. They stop taking it, and then after a couple of weeks, Tony, after a couple of weeks or so, you're like, why am I hurting so bad again? Why does this suck? Why is my body hurting again? I haven't been taking my CBD like I was supposed to be taking, right?
We would like to give a huge thanks to Rafa 180 for being a sponsor. Rafa 180 offers pure medicinal CBD. They walk alongside individuals to achieve a healthy lifestyle with options needed by each person. You can learn more about them on Facebook at Rafa CBD, their website www.rafa180.com, or email at rafacbd@gmail.com. They truly believe your journey matters.
Now, a lot of people, I think it's one of those things that people have to learn, right? We have to teach these people. Like we have to teach our people, like, you have to use this on a regular basis. This isn't like it's not the end all be all. Cannabis is not the end all be all. Cannabis doesn't cure everything, but it helps a lot of things that we suffer from, right? And you, Tony, I mean, so you said what pretty much in like 2015 is when your whole journey started with cannabis?
The law started in 2015, but I wasn't involved in any kind of advocacy. Somebody invited me to the Capitol for a cannabis lobby day because we connected on Facebook or something. Well, you need to come out to the Capitol Cannabis Lobby Day. So I did, and my first time really at a lobby day at the Capitol in 17. And I caught the bug, and I said, well, let me get some more training. So I always try to go to conferences, and like I just got back from Patients Out of Time conference in Missouri. And like when I was out in Arizona, I went to the psychedelic conference. I didn't know anything about psychedelic plants, and so I had an opportunity to go to one in Phoenix. And so yeah, it's important as an advocate to do some research and get some cred behind you. And once you do that, the legislators, they really want to hear from you. They want to hear from veterans. I've never met a legislator say, oh, you're a veteran, get out of here. No, it's just the opposite. If they know I'm a veteran, they make sure to,
Right.
hey, man, you got law enforcement, ex-law enforcement, they're very highly respected by legislators, firefighters. And it's great when we can all come together, like, to advocate for cannabis, because retired law enforcement and retired firefighters, they sometimes experience the same injuries and stuff as veterans. So when we can all three join forces at the Capitol and work for, either like we work for employment protection in Louisiana this session. We got, if you're a state employee of Louisiana and you're not a firefighter, not a law enforcement, and not a school bus driver or with the horsing gaming or something, you can be a registered cannabis patient and still do your state job. It was the first. Maybe, I don't know, it might be the first state in the union that has a protection for state employees. So the firefighters and policemen got left out this session on the protections, but next session we're going to come back around. Hopefully there'll be a test, like a swab, that you can check to see if the consumption cannabis was consumed, within a certain period before you go on duty or something. But hopefully we'll have something next session. Be on the lookout, because the legislator that put in the bill protecting state employees this session has already mentioned that they're going to come back next session and get all employees of the state, protected.
Yeah, no,
So
absolutely. doing, so I mean, well, what you're doing there in Louisiana, man. I mean, I guarantee you that a lot of the people are like, wow, man, this is freaking something's being done, right? Like, I mean, it's not. This isn't something that, like, if you weren't there, Tony, how much of what you have been doing, how much of that do you think would have ever happened if you weren't there fighting for it?
It's hard to say. Maybe the universe would have sent someone else, in my place. But just somebody just sending an email may have had even more impact on some bills that I testified. But I think showing up at the Capitol, I got told personally by legislators that thank you. Either during committee, they voiced over to me, thank you for coming. I mean, they really want to hear from us. And if you're not there giving, just like the employment protection thing, I testified on that bill originally at the Capitol. And I just said, well, look, veterans, we go to war, we come back, we just want to raise our family and go to work. And I said, some of us have severe injuries from our service, and I said, we don't want to take all the opiates and that. We want to take cannabis. And I said, that's harm reduction. That's actually safer than taking the opiates. And I think it might have helped that bill get through, that testimony. They looked at it in a different perspective, saying, yeah, well, there's a lot of veterans that go for state jobs when they get out of military because your retirement time counts. Right. Your time in service, military counts for your retirement time in the state. So a lot of it was important to me that I know a lot of veterans work for the state of Louisiana, and it was important to make sure that they heard it from a veteran's perspective, and that the opiates. If you can take opiates or like Adderall or maybe Xanax or anything like that prescribed, if you can take that and work, you can certainly get through the day.
No, absolutely, brother. Like I said, I work for the federal government. I feel the same way. That's what I tell them. I said, dude, it's okay for my forklift operators to get out there and freaking pop a couple of Lortabs or some Prozac before they get on the forklift. But God forbid they smoke a freaking blunt before they get on a freaking forklift. You know what I'm saying? I said they pop 2 Lortabs before they get on the forklift. They pop 2 Lortabs while they're on the forklift. They pop 2 more Lortabs at lunch. They pop 2 more Lortabs towards the end of the day, and they get off work and they pop 3 or 4 and have a couple of beers or some shots of liquor or something with them, right? And that's okay, right? That's okay for you guys for them to be able to consume all that, right? But God forbid these guys go out and they consume some cannabis, right? They go and consume a blunt or some dabs or whatever, and they're frowned upon, right? They're frowned upon because they're using something that's classified as a federally illegal substance, right? And it's stupid, right? And honestly, I think the biggest thing, like, I don't know how you feel about it, but I think the biggest thing that they're fighting for legalization is because they're trying to figure out, how can I make money off of this, right? Like anything else, right? Anything else, any politician always thinks about, how can I get rich off of this? And I think that's one of the biggest struggles that we have, is that these people are like, why, Sergeant G, are you so adamant of fighting for federal legalization? Like you said, in the state of Louisiana, your military time counts towards your retirement at the state level, right? And you fought to ensure that these employees are able to consume a plant-based product so they don't become addicted to the opioids that are the opioid pandemic that we have in our country right now. Right? It's not just veterans who are dying from this pandemic that we're having with opioids, right? Everybody struggles. I mean, look at everybody out on the streets, dude. They struggle, right? They started like you, had a surgery and got addicted to painkillers. Right? And then once you run out of your painkillers, the doctor ain't going to prescribe you no more. So what do? You go on the street and you go to find something else stronger to get rid of the pain, right? And a lot of people don't understand this. And you know what I'm saying? And when you start using a plant-based medicine such as cannabis, right, you're able to use it. So since 2017, you've been adamant when you've been using cannabis, right, Tony?
Yeah, right. yeah, I actually moved to Arizona because at 18, when we got chronic pain PTSD added, before that, you had to have, like, be missing an arm and a leg to get cannabis. I mean, bad ailments, cancer, and all kind of severe ailments that not a lot of people maybe have in society. So it was a very limited amount of ailments. And then when we added chronic pain PTSD, they started issuing dispensary licenses. Before that, the dispensaries weren't even really opening up because there wasn't going to be a lot of business. But 18, they opened the dispensaries. In the fall that year, they got product. And then in 19, we got flower. But yeah, I left that. My wife and I moved to Arizona, and I was able to get a medical cannabis recommendation in Arizona. And you know, but in that time period, my father died in Louisiana, and I had to travel back to Louisiana. And as a medical cannabis patient, like you said, if I had heart medicine and I come to Louisiana, I'd be able to get my heart medicine. But they didn't have reciprocity back then, and so we just started that in August 1st this year. So I'm glad to have been here working, fighting for that, because that's the testimony I gave. I said, look, you know what? My father died. I said I had to come home, and I was a criminal. You know, not in Louisiana, my home state. As a veteran, I was a criminal because I had my cannabis with me, and so thank goodness. Hopefully, some of my testimony helped push that bill through this year. But I'm sure glad it went through.
Oh, absolutely, brother. And I mean, it's fantastic to be able to go out there and, you know, you're allowing your government to hear your concerns and your voice, right? To be like, hey, look, let me tell you, dude. Like, let me tell you why this is important, right? You're not gonna tell somebody who's a cancer patient that they can't bring their medicine with them. You're not gonna tell a diabetic he can't bring his insulin with him when he crosses state lines, right? And you, Tony, you've been there in Louisiana. You said anybody that comes to our state should be able to have their own medicine, right? And if they are a card holder, their card should be recognizable in our state. Like they got the recommendation from a doctor, a certified doctor, an MD or whatever, certified him, said that he could use cannabis in his state. That's like saying a doctor in California doesn't have the same credentials as a doctor in Louisiana, right? You gonna tell him that he's not a doctor no more because he doesn't practice in your state? No, you're not gonna tell him that, right? You're not gonna tell him that. So when it comes to recommendations, they should be recognized as though, right? As such, like you said, you should be recognized as such. If these guys are coming, if we have patients coming to our state, they shouldn't get in trouble for having their medicine with them, right? And I know being with the Veteran Action Council, being a part of that team, I know that's a massive team. That's a strong-willed team, dude. You're part of that Veteran Action Council. That's one of the things you guys fight for, right? Is fighting for ensuring medical freedom for everybody, right?
Yeah, access for all. That's our motto. In the VAC, I was very proud to be amongst them. I emailed the Department of Health, I guess a couple weeks ago, and ask them for a meeting because the Louisiana Department of Health determines what schedule cannabis is. They have it listed. They control Louisiana's Controlled Substance Act, and they tell them what substance to put on or take off. And so I emailed them and I said, well, look, now that y'all in control of Louisiana's medical cannabis program, y'all still listing cannabis as a Schedule 1 with no medical use, high addictive abuse potential, and you know all this stuff. And I said I gave them some examples. The UN took cannabis off of the list of most dangerous substances in December 2020, and we have 37 states with a medical cannabis program, including Louisiana. And then now they're running the medical cannabis program. Maybe we should take cannabis off of Schedule 1, which we all know the U.S. should be doing that because we base our Controlled Substance Act off of that treaty, the 1961 Treaty on Narcotics Drugs, which the VAC, Michael Krawitz, has been very instrumental in working on an international level with some international cannabis advocates. So he kind of took us under his wing, and for the last couple of years, we've been sitting in meetings over there at the UN and in Vienna. When I was in Arizona, I'd get I'd go to bed and I'd get up at 11 because that was 9 a.m. In Vienna, Austria, where the UN was meeting, this Committee for Narcotics Drugs, who does the same thing the Louisiana Department of Health does. They control what substances get added to that list, but eventually they did get it descheduled, and I think it's disingenuous of the U.S. government to have Epidiolex and Sativex, which is cannabis-derived medicine. They have that approved by the FDA, but they're still locking people up, and there's still veterans in jail right now. We fighting for veterans in these VA war veterans homes or hospitals to have access to cannabis in there, because that's where they're going to really need it when you're on the end of life. You got some terminal illness. There's no reason why you should be denied your cannabis medicine inside of a VA hospital or a war veterans home.
Absolutely, and that's one of the biggest things, right? So I was listening in on that first hearing they had in regards to the CAOA. And that's one of the things that they were saying. They're like, well, the FDA hasn't said that there's any medicinal benefits to this. And I'm like, the FDA, a government-ran organization, seriously? I was like, look at the studies that have been done around the world. Tony, like, there's been studies done around the world. Israel is one of the biggest freaking people who've done the most studies in regards to cannabis, showing the medicinal benefits. And I'm like, because the FDA, a government entity, says that there is no medicinal benefits because there hasn't been enough research on it, how do you advocate for the other research that has already been done around the world? Like, how do you advocate for that? Like, because they're not FDA regulated? I said the FDA is a joke. It's a government entity. It's a joke like any other government entity we have in our country.
It's a pay-to-play system set up. If you got millions of dollars to get a pharmaceutical out there, it don't matter if they pull it off the shelf a year or two later because it's killing people. But you can get it approved by the FDA if you got the money to get up there and advocate.
Right. No, absolutely, brother. That's one of the biggest struggles. I know Brian Buckley. Brian Buckley. He's got his research project going on right now. I got to reach out to him and see exactly how that's going. But I'm like, he's putting money into it, dude. It's a pay-to-play. Like you said, it's a pay-to-play type game, And that's one of the biggest struggles I think we're having, right, in our veteran community is that why is cannabis, like what the medicinal benefits, right? A lot of, like they said, the FDA hasn't approved any of the medicinal benefits, but and I know the medicinal benefits that cannabis has, right? In regards to a lot of our brothers and sisters who suffer bad PTSD, like if you smoked you a nice blend, regardless if it's a hybrid or a freaking indica dominant type plant, understanding the terpene profile that it carries, it'll take that PTSD away for a moment. Like for you to be able to breathe and be able to work and do your stuff and get your job done and be able to interact with your family, and that's one of the biggest things that I think is that a lot of people, they don't educate, right? They don't, it's easier to listen to somebody tell you, right, than to actually do the research for yourself. And that's what I've been trying to do is provide enough research so when I do my episodes on Wednesdays, I help educate our community to get an understanding. Hey, look at these terpenes. This is whenever you go to a dispensary, that's what you need to see. What kind of terpenes does this flower have? I don't care about the THC content. I really don't care. I wish it had zero THC content, Me, I like to be high. I like the head shift. I like being stoned. You know what I'm saying? But I got to know what kind of terpene profile it has while I'm stoned so I know what it's going to help with. Is it going to help with my muscle spasms? Is it going to help with my anxiety, my depression, right? Like, is it going to help with these? Or is it just something that I'm just smoking it just to get stoned, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. You want to go and freaking, if you have a weekend and you're like, I ain't got to do nothing this weekend, go and smoke and freaking Netflix and chill, dude. Just hang out and relax, right? Like, get recharged and reset your mind, But a lot of people frown upon it. And you're like, why? I said, but it's okay for me to go get smashed drunk and vomit everywhere. That's okay. But God forbid I smoke me I dab out for freaking 6 hours and it take me some RSO and I'm out, I'm out freaking watching movies all freaking day. God forbid that. But it's okay for me to go get smashed drunk and vomit on everything and cuss at everybody, And so that's one of the biggest thing. I mean, Like, I mean, I don't know, Tony. I don't know, but I mean, this is one of the biggest things. This is why I do the podcast, though, so I can. It's heard in multiple countries around the world, which I love. You know, I love the audience that's listening in to figure out cannabis. You know, like people in other countries are like, it's illegal in the U.S. Yes, it's still illegal in the U.S. You know, but there are some countries it's still illegal in. I mean, Russia, it's still illegal in Russia. You know. But this is one of the things that we have to be able to stand up and allow our voices to be heard, right? I mean, that's what you're doing on a daily basis, Tony. I see you. I've seen your freaking meetings with freaking Congress there in Louisiana. What is one thing you could advise people as to getting into contact with their representatives? Like, what would be like the first step? Like, how could they get in contact with their congressman?
The easiest way is just to start local. You know, go. You know, reach out to your local city council and just make them aware. Share an email with them or some research on how maybe cannabis is helping veterans or lowering the opiate use. Especially if you see some rise, a newspaper article come out. There's a spike in opiate overdoses in the area. Well, then use that and say, hey, we think this can help, or I think this can help. You know. And when you get an opportunity, that like the legislative website has a citizen area where you can get emailed on committee hearings, or if you get a council, try and get a meeting with your local council, and when you do go, just be real respectful to the office, because we all get mad, at politicians, and we want to, when we say, I'm going to do something about it, then you're really kind of mad. You want to get out there and change the world. But, it's really just respect for the offices, the legislative office holders or city council or whatever it is. Just show them respect for their office. Anyway, you don't care for their way they vote. And, I always try and dress, I look at that going, when I go to Capitol, it's like a $1 million business deal. It's not just, I've seen people go to the Capitol dressed in tie-dye or a big marijuana leaf or cannabis leaf on their shirt, and that to me is kind of slapping in the face to the politicians, because some of them are still coming around, on the issue of cannabis. They got that cognitive dissonance going on. They think it's just a terrible thing still. So if you go there dressed like a, big pot leaf or something, then you might not get their ear as much as if you just dress, with a collared shirt or something, and go there and show them respect and just tell them your story. Everybody has a story, so
no, absolutely.
tell them your
That's
story.
professionalism, right? We're military. We all know about the professionalism, right? We all know how to dress to impress. And that's one of the, it's like you said, it's one of those things you don't want to go, when you're going to go talk to a politician, you don't want to be wearing a freaking Stoned Vet shirt when you go talk to him, right? You don't want to just go up there and talk to him with a Stoned Vet shirt. You want to dress to impress, right? You want to wear a collared shirt. You want to wear some slacks. You want to look professional, right? Like, you know what you're talking about. If you walk in knowing what you're talking about, they're going to be adamant to listen to your story. Like, why are you so adamant about how this plant has helped you and how it's helping you, right? Like, that's one of the biggest things. And that's one of the things I try to tell people, right? I was like, you have got to go and, reach out to your representative, right? Each county in each state has a senator, right? You have a senator for your county. Email them. Say, hey, I would like an opportunity to be able to sit down and speak with you. When would be a good time to sit down and speak with you? I want to talk to you in regards to the CAOA. What is taking so long? What are the next steps in fighting for legalization, right? What do we need to be doing? Or where do we need to be going? Because that's one of my biggest things. That's one thing I'm adamant about. I was like, I would want to sit down when the senators go to vote for legalization. I would like to have a room full of veterans sitting there watching them vote, to ensure that they have an understanding of why this is so important to take this off the Schedule 1 drug, right? Let's get this off. I'd like to have them so they can look all of us in the face and say, well, I voted against it because of this, because of wording. You're voting against it because of the way the wording was in this thing. So how do you make the wording better? How would it be better for you to vote yes? What would the wording need to be? So a lot of times, I mean, just like the PACT Act that just got passed now, right? They canceled it because of the wording. They fixed the wording and then they passed it. And I'm just like, politics is freaking ridiculous, dude, and we know it, Tony. Politics is dirty. Politics is just dirty, you know. That's what it comes down to, the wording. How is who you are and why you're fighting for cannabis legalization, man? Because here we're fighting for it. In Oklahoma, medicinal cannabis is legal, but I'm fighting for the federal level legalization. That's one of the biggest struggles. That's the biggest fight we're having right now in our country, and that's where us as veterans, we get together. When there's more of us together, our voices can be heard more, you know. Tony, I appreciate you hanging out with me on this freaking Friday, coming out, spreading some news, spreading some great news, and just hanging out and enjoying this time together, guys. You guys know why I do this, right? It's like hanging out in the smoke pit for the day and not talking about the week and how the week's been and stuff like that. We're just enjoying some time, some camaraderie, right? One of the biggest struggles we have as veterans is loneliness, right? We always feel like we're alone, that there's nobody around us. I do this show so you're able to put it on in the background and just listen to our voices, listen to us talk for a little bit, right? If you're a cannabis enthusiast, reach out to us. Reach out to Tony. Tony, you see Tony. Tony's out there. He's on my Facebook page. Come over to my Facebook page and interact with some of the amazing cannabis enthusiasts that I interact with, because we all have the same mission in mind as fighting for legalization of cannabis, medical freedom for all, right? That's one of the biggest things, is ensuring that we all have medical freedom to use the medicine that we choose to use, man. Tony, thanks for hanging out with me today, able to do this and able to provide this wonderful content for our family so that they have a better understanding, right? What you're doing, you know, like you have your mission. You have your mission there in Louisiana, and everybody should have a mission like that in their state where they're at, standing up and allowing their voices to be heard, man. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me hanging out with us on this Friday, enjoying this time together. I'm glad to be back. Like I said, Veteran Podcast Awards is upon us, man. I'm going to have all the description on how you can vote for my show in the description box down below, man. Go and vote. If you're on YouTube, if you watch on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and share button. Share this content with your people. Share it on Facebook. Share it on TikTok. Share it however you share it on Instagram, whatever the case may be. And if you're listening on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, however you listen to this podcast, leave me a 5-star review. The more reviews you guys start leaving me, the more this stuff starts showing up on the feed for people to start listening in and listening to this amazing content, right? That's the only way we're going to get bigger than Joe Rogan. Let's get some more awards up here, right? I'm going to have to get a shelf, man. We can start winning more awards. I might start getting the shelf up in the back so people can see all the awards that we're winning, right? Because this is not my podcast. This is your podcast, man. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us on this Friday, man. Remember, guys, here at the Stone Vet, we got your six.
Adapt and overcome, I make the best out of situations. I stay alert for my enemies trying to do me some harm. I fight for your freedom of speech and your right to bear arms. When I say I got your six, that means I got your back. But what else would you expect coming from the Stone Vet?